So this is a crash course on barcodes, and this is something that I am so glad that I started to learn early on in my guitar journey. I am not an expert by any means, but it really literally opened up the rest of the fretboard. So when we're learning open chords like C, G, D, E, we're normally right here. But then with barcodes, you can literally go all the way as far as like the very last, fret on the fretboard. So I think they are very useful, but they're also like they really help me to be more flexible with my fingers. I have very small fingers, so I needed a lot. Like I needed to learn how to stretch and to like hold. So I think it's just the rite of passage. Like I think every guitarist should know how to hold the barcode. So for this video, I'll be starting with, first of all, what even is a barcode. Maybe you don't know what it is. And then we'll talk about like some practical ways that you can learn and become confident in holding these barcodes, and I'll give you some examples along the way. Then we'll see where it goes. Okay, so so first of all, what is a barcode? So a barcode is essentially transposing. So an example is if we start with E, right? So this is the E chord. If we take it a step up and add this barcode right here, it becomes F. So we're literally transposing. So it does the work of what a capo would do, right? And so I had told myself early in my journey that I was not going to use a capo because it felt like cheating. I use it, by the way. But yes, in the beginning, I'm kind of glad that I forced myself, because I told myself I'm going to learn how to play in all 12 keys. And I can do it. I have to remind myself sometimes. But yes, I like being able to do that really helped me, like I said, to be more flexible. And it just really opened up so many possibilities. Like I feel like I'm more daring as a guitarist. Like if I see something complicated, I'm like, yeah, I can learn how to do it. So yes, I'm so glad that you are here and you're going on this journey. It might be more challenging, or maybe it will be easy for you, but I think it's like it will be very useful for even other things in your guitar journey. And so so the second thing is I'll talk about some examples of what I think are the most common barcodes, right? So I already gave E. So if we start from E, we can like transpose it all the way, up to wherever we want to go. We can also do the same with E minor. We know the only difference is we're not holding that one, right? So we can change it to F minor, F sharp, minor, G. So go all the way. And then another one that we can do is A. So the way I hold A is like that. I know some people hold it differently, where like they kind of use like a barcode-ish, like hold those three down. I'm not able to do that and keep the last string, proper. So I hold it like that. And so we can do the same thing and make it B, C, like we can go all the way as far as we want to go. And we can do the same with A minor, which is like that. Forget it. So that's A minor, and then we can take it and make it B, C minor, C sharp minor, all the way down the fretboard. So those are 4 useful ones. So E minor, A, and A minor. And I feel like just with those 4, so I'm able to play like in all 12 keys using those 4 barcodes and some open ones. I'm trying to learn how to use other types of barcodes, but I feel like that's a very good place to start. So whichever one that you decide to go with, and the shapes are pretty similar. So I feel like either way, like those 4 go really well together. And so the next thing is, how then do you practically like hold down the barcode? Because I feel like that's the struggle, is being like, you can know the shape and yes, but being able to actually hold it down and get a clear sound is the struggle. And so how to check that? So maybe it will come very instantly for you, which is amazing. For me, it did not. So I had to sort of like learn some techniques to be able to have it sound clear. So how do you check? Find the barcode. So let's say like this is what, F sharp, right? So if you play through all the strings individually, you should be able to hear all of them. And then using that, you can also use it as like a diagnosis of like, or maybe just the last one is not fine. So how can I hold the last one? Maybe it's the middle one that's not, you can kind of use that to check. But if you're like, 2 things that help me to really hold this down well is, first of all, your placement of your finger, your beginning finger, right? So I think I was taught that when you're, I don't remember, anyway, whenever I'm holding a chord, I am near the next fret. So I'm not like in the middle, I'm sort of like near the end. And I feel like the same thing applies to the barcode. I think it sounds more clear when you're right at the beginning of the fret. If I try to hold it on the actual fret itself, it kind of loses, you can tell, loses some of that clarity. And I feel like if I'm in the middle, it sounds clear, but it's kind of hard to like stretch all the way. So I feel like that's like the perfect position for me, at least. Right before the fret. Then the other thing is your thumb behind, right? So as you hold the chords, I found out as I was making this video, I never paid attention, but when I'm holding certain chords like G, C, my thumb is normally up here, like, yeah, as I'm doing all the stuff, blah blah. Yeah, but then for the barcode, you have to be able to like, okay, so if imagine my thumb is up here, I literally can't even hold down all of them because like I'm coming from an angle, my hand is at the back and not in the front. And so one thing that I learned as well is your thumb should be halfway, or I guess as low as possible, because you're trying to leave your hand free as opposed to like leaning on the guitar behind, right? And so it's kind of uncomfortable, I think, especially if you're just starting out, but it really helps because then you can literally like bring this and make it flat so that you can hold down the, yes, so you want your thumb to be, you know, halfway or as low as possible as you hold down the barcode. And this means that your hand is hanging, as I said, you're not like leaning right there. And I feel like this also helps you with mobility down the fretboard. I think it just overall just helps the strings sound more clear. And so yes, so if you're starting out, those are some techniques to hold the bar. And as you can tell, if this finger is busy holding the beginning, then you have to hold the chords with the rest of the 3 fingers. So that's also a good starting point as you get used to that, is you have to learn to hold your chords without using your first finger, right? So E normally is held like that, but for the barcode you have to hold it like that, right? And for E minor, same applies. And for A, you know, you have to hold it without using your first, and same applies to A minor. And it took me a long time to be able to like to switch, because you know how muscle memory is, you do something the same way every time. It's easy to forget and like come back and hold it like that, but then you are supposed to do a barcode. And so practice, that would be really important. And one other important component of that practice is you want to make sure that you're coming at the chord from different angles. What I mean is I can be like, oh, I know how to hold E. Yeah, it's all good. So that was like the beginning little intro that I played. I was in the key of E. So if I'm holding the minor, it's all the way up here. Then I come back. So like I can be like, oh, I know how to hold E. But like if I'm coming from this other position, I'm scrambling to hold, you know. So change the progression, come at it from different points. That will really help you to solidify your knowledge of the chord. And I feel like also giving yourself less time to sort of like figure out. So like doing different songs that are faster than others, just like starting slow, quickening it up, different things like that to really help you be more confident in holding the barcode, right? So yeah, so we talked about position of this finger, position of the thumb behind, and then being able to hold the rest, you know, with those 3 fingers. That will really help you to be able to hold down the barcode. So let's say you are starting and you really want to get to know these well, but you prefer structure. I know I prefer structure. For me, using keys as ways to like guide me was very, very useful. So one thing that I did was I picked a song that's like relatively simple, and the song that I already know how to play, and I knew the number. So the number system is very helpful. So let's pick the key of D as our like trial, right? So D is our 1, then we have our 4, which is our A, then our 5 is our G, then our minor is going to be, did I switch? Anyway, so we have D, A, and G as our majors. Our minor is going to be our 6. I did switch anyway. So it's going to be our B minor. So if I know any progression and I switch it to the number system, it's easy to go back and forth in different keys because I can then figure out what's my 4, what's my 5. So let's say we pick a random song. I will share mine, but it's in my language anyway. So let's say I pick a random song like Bless the Lord. So, bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. So I picked D because it has one, well, if you're playing it, I guess, as just using like the 3 majors and the 1 minor, the minor is a barcode. So I feel like it's a great start because you're only adding 1 barcode to something that you already know. So let's say you start with that, and you know that, oh, this is where the minor comes in, and yes, and you're also learning other things like being able to like, oh, find the key, sing in the key as you go along, and like just, you know, usefulness of, like I said, coming from different points. So like change the song, change the progression, change the speed. And yes, so like let's say you start with D and pick a random song and you're just adding 1 barcode. Then you can try another key that maybe has 2 barcodes, like E. So if we're playing in E, We have E, A, then we have B, that's a barcode, then the minor is also a barcode. So again, it's like we're like increasing complexity as we go. Then you get to a point where there are certain keys that like you can technically play all the keys in like just barcodes, but I guess some are just like easier played in just barcodes. So the more that you do it, the more that you become flexible, the more that you can add it, and it just becomes a natural like part of your guitar playing. So if you have any questions or you would like me to make a video on another tutorial, let me know in the comments down below. Share this with someone you think is learning how to hold barcodes, and let me know if you also have any tricks that help you to hold barcodes well. But thanks for watching.